It's Thursday night. We're back. We're the official Living in Jacksonville channel, and I'm smiling and laughing because Emily confided in me that she let baby food explode in the microwave. It was not even supposed to be in the microwave. So, uh,
Mom winning over here. It's
mom's
really
winning.
hot in my house right now.
Yep, winning with the first baby. Loving it. I like it. Very humble. Just so you know, I have two that I can't even remember those days, but I can tell some stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you for the laugh. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, besides explosions of baby food, tonight, what are we talking about tonight? I'm excited.
I am excited too. And I was kind of on the fence, putting everything together for today, trying to figure out how, we're going to advertise this video. And I went with the term market frustrations instead of
Oh,
market update
all
because
right.
a market update kind of gets boring. It sounds boring. The information is good, but it's not fun. And I'm like, also, let's really talk about what's different about this update. And I do think there are some frustrations in the market that people are just kind of skirting over. Everyone's like, oh, interest rates are down. Woohoo, let's get back in the market. Let's buy. Oh, we've got inventories coming up. Woohoo, we're getting into the spring market. But if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to have a good experience. And we are seeing some people experience those frustrations, or even on our end, dealing with the consequences of other people's decisions, which cause frustrations. So
Yeah.
that is kind of where we're at tonight. We're going to really talk about where the market is at and what those frustrations are so that you can avoid them. It's not a negative call. It's not ooh, the market sucks, because it doesn't. But it's, let's be real about where the market's at so you can have the best experience and still accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I like that. Market frustrations. Definitely some frustrations out there. And I've even been experiencing it. And usually I'm pretty upbeat and very on top of it lately, but definitely a few little things here and there that have been rather frustrating. But in any case, if you are watching, everybody out there, we love it that you're joining us tonight. And if you are, make sure you go ahead and put in the comments below where you're watching from. We love to know where you're watching from. And of course, if you have any questions during the show, please go ahead and put in the comments. We will definitely address those, as many as we can. We had a lot of people last week. Maybe not as many because we were like, why do we want to hear about market frustrations? But you know what? There is some desperation out there. There are some people that are frustrated because we have been a roller coaster of interest rates up, down. They're going to drop at the beginning of the year. They're going to drop at the end of the year. And they really haven't dropped. No, we just like, is it, is the market getting better? Are the feds, do they really know what they're doing? Or, is it's just so many factors involved. And now we have this election year. And so now we're going to add politics into the play. Here we go. It's only going to get more exciting. And it sucks because, from this channel, we bring in a lot of buyers and relocators. And we have a lot of people that came here and are renting and trying to find that home because we're getting better inventory, but, they decided to wait it out, and they're frustrated because
Yeah.
how long do you want to rent? And rent's not
Right.
cheap either. So it can be very frustrating. So, but that goes to show you also that that's why you need someone in your corner that does know what's going on, does know what the opportunities are, and when they come, be ready to attack. And so, as you're going to see tonight, we're starting to see a few changes here in February. So it's a good sign.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So, you want to just jump right in?
sure. Why not?
All right, let's do it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I think 80% of our viewers aren't subscribed.
80% of our viewers are not subscribed. So I don't know. All y'all are watching these videos on replay. If you don't know what subscribe is on YouTube, Or you know what?
Button.
When I first started watching you, it's right there, right? It's right there.
Yep.
When I first started watching YouTube or whatnot, I have to admit I didn't even have a YouTube channel. I didn't subscribe. Now I'm like I have my favorites and
Mhm.
I'm all about it. So but yeah, do subscribe. It helps us also with the algorithms. We do see analytics. We do know that you're watching, and there's a huge number watching them not subscribed. So if we're providing value and you're joining us, well, yeah, click that little subscribe button. Help us out a little bit. Appreciate that. So that's enough of that diatribe.
Let's do it. Let's get into it. So, we're going to kind of show a few different things because we recently discovered something pretty interesting, which is that not all of the data that we were seeing was really kind of matching up, which is another just really valuable thing in working with a real estate professional who's really out there and doing business. Please do not quote me on these. This is from last year, but I remember them saying, looking at the data from our board of realtors, that I think like 60% of licensed agents only did one deal. And I want to say like 80% only did two. So that means only 20% of the agents, and this is so if you have ever heard of what's called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, it's so true where 80% of the agents, I'm sorry, 20% of the agents do 80% of the business. So if you are not speaking with an agent who is out there in the field doing business, they're not going to even recognize that some of these data points, you're like, wait a minute, does that make sense? And I can speak from my own experience. I'm not in the field. I'm not out there showing houses, writing offers, that sort of thing. You are. So when I presented you some of this data, you said, wait a minute, something is off here. This doesn't make sense. And so I think I just want to point that out. That's so valuable. So we're going to look at a few different things here. So this is what a lot of people pull their data and statistics from our board of realtors page here. I'm sorry, my dog.
Can I just prelude something? That's okay.
Yeah.
Artie's allowed to make as much noise as he wants because it's Northeast Florida and we love our pets, our doggies. So he just wants to be part of the show. It's okay. So,
Yes.
all right. So I'm going to prelude this too. I want to say, I don't know if we're going to show that stat, but I did read in the U.S. Census Bureau, that from 2022 to 2023, we saw an increase in new home sales, new construction across the U.S. We saw an increase of 4% across the country. Now, Northeast Florida, if it wasn't for all the new construction, we would be hurting a lot more. But because of the new construction, I would say 70% of our transactions last year, and we did a lot of business, had the best year ever. Thank you to all my clients. Appreciate that. But 70% of our business was new construction, people. So the stats in MLS come from the stats of sales of homes, and not all new construction is entered in MLS. So if you purchase a new home and you build a new construction home with Toll Brothers or ICI or David Weekley, that home there's no reason for them to list it on the MLS unless it's a spec home. So sometimes or most of the time, those homes won't even see the MLS, and therefore the data that we're seeing here is also not accurate, 100% accurate. So if 80% of my business or 70% of my business was new construction, that just goes to show you that the numbers can be really skewed. And that really also depends on the area, because some areas that are newer have more new construction and older, more established areas don't have construction. And that's the same for the whole country. And Florida and South Florida is a concrete jungle. There's not a lot of new construction. That's where I used to be. Northeast Florida, we have a ton of new developments and new construction. So we have much better numbers here. And as I was saying in an earlier report, I would say that if across the country we saw 4% increase in new home sales, I would say those numbers are even higher here in Northeast Florida.
I totally agree with you. Totally. I feel like our area is growing so much. And I mean, we talked about this last week with our Master Plan Communities Live. We talked about, Seven Pines being a newly Master Plan community being built out. Ever Range is coming. That's going to be a new Master Plan community. All of that's new construction. And like you said, a lot of that never even sees the MLS. So you might be wondering, why do we even do a market update if not all of the data is there? But it does give us indicators. You have to, I remember someone saying, they were talking about pricing their home, and they said it's an art and a science. You have to have both. And understanding the market is the same way. You have to understand how supply and demand works. You have to be, understand your neighborhood and your community. And you just mentioned that as far as different communities, you're going to see different data. We're about to show that. Some of this data or these statistics that we're looking at, they give us the science, and then the experience gives us the art of understanding it and how to use that to educate the customers. So
100%.
yeah.
Ordered another appraisal today, did a listing appointment yesterday, and it was an anomaly of a home, and I really didn't want them to lose. I didn't want to leave any money on the table, but as I keep stressing over and over again, it is so important to price your home correctly. Unless it's an anomaly showcase in the perfect area, we're seeing, as you're going to see today, we're seeing inventory go up and we're seeing median days on market. But that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. I'm so happy. 6 months of inventory is normal. That's what we want. So 2 months like last year, this time is not normal. It's terrible. And I think if interest rates were dropping already this spring, we'd see bidding wars again, and we'd have a lower inventory. So I think that things are going in the right direction, and we're just more fortunate here in Northeast Florida because we have more opportunities with new construction in our market. And another example today that things are going well, like last year, everybody was gloom and doom about across the country because numbers weren't great everywhere, but they were in certain pockets. But I mean, we did the Nocatee recertification of agents today, and the Park Group had announced that they were 1 year ahead of schedule. This whole project is supposed to wrap up in 2028, and they're thinking this whole project is going to wrap up in 2027. So that's it, folks. Nocatee is going to be done in 2027. They have 2,000 homes, and I can tell you a good portion of those homes are going to be villas and townhomes, not single families. So we're coming to the end, but it's interesting that they had projected 2028, 12,000 homes in this project, and now they're going to be done potentially in 2027. So they're ahead of schedule.
Wow, that's exciting. Exciting news.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump in. So you can see here, January 2024 market review. This is coming from our Association of Realtors. This is for all of Northeast Florida. Okay, so this is very, very general, and I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on this because we have said time and time again how hyper-local our market is. So what I want you to see is that if I just change this, so right now you can see median sales price of $375, the number of closed sales, you see these numbers here. If I change this to just St. John's, look how much that changes already. So St. John's is still, do you recall offhand the population of St. John's, Greg?
Yeah, so St. Johns County, I want to say, is around 400,000 residents. Now, keep in mind, Duval, which is it is a little bit bigger physically, has 1 million, just so you can compare it.
Oh yeah, so population density much, much higher there. But yeah, so just, St. John's is still, it's not small. It's still pretty large, and just see that jump in the median sales price, went from 375 to 520. And then the number of closed sales went from 1,000 to 277. So we're now looking at a subset. So that makes sense. So you can see that here. Now I'm going to take it even smaller, and we're going to look at some areas. I'm going to look at just the Ponte Vedra areas. And we're actually going to get into the MLS in a little bit to pull data directly from there. They just redid all their areas, so that's why there's so many. But here's Ponte Vedra. Now we just went from 519 to 1.2 million. So it just shows you how hyper-local our market is. And when we get in the MLS and we're actually looking at the map, you guys are going to be able to see, we're going to actually talk about, certain geographical barriers that are going to influence the market. Greg and I were talking earlier about how I'm in the Atlantic Beach area. And before moving there, I had no idea what was what. And I remember people saying, oh, well, the difference between being east of Seminole and west of Seminole is drastic, or north of Plaza, south of Plaza. So hearing those things, it's just crazy how hyperlocal our market is. But let's go back to St. John's for a second, and look at them as a whole. So we've got this median sales price of almost $520,000. Now, would you say that this is reflective of Nocatee?
The median sales price?
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah,
No.
I totally
Now,
agree.
if you dial down into Nocatee, you're going to see a median sales price in the 700 range.
Yeah.
The prices have continued to escalate there as well because we have a lack of inventory and also a lack of particular homes, larger single family homes. But no, you're going to start being in the 700 range. So your example about Atlantic Beach, my example would be Ponte Vedra Beach on the beach side. Is you saw Ponte Vedra there, that accounts for those $1 million median sales price. It's outrageous over there, just buying homes for $1 million and totally gutting them or tearing them down and building mansions or renovating them. We're seeing homes at $5, $10, $15 million now on the beach, which we never saw before. Now you just go west from Ponte Vedra Beach into Ponte Vedra, the Nocatee area, west of the intercoastal, and now the median sale price goes to around the 740 range. Now you go west of Nocatee and Ponte Vedra, west of Phillips Highway into the St. John's area, St. Augustine, St. John's area. Now you're starting to see the median sales price go down to the 500 range. So you see how that is closer to the ocean. We're about $1 million. Then we go to the 700s, then we go to the 500s. And so you really have to know, what market you want to be in. It's so important. It's like when people call me, I interview them. I actually give people a bunch of questions to answer before I even talk to them, so that I can really nail down what's a good area for them based on their budget and what they're looking for, and what's their objective. How long are they going to be there? Are they downsizing? Is it schools, or what is it that they're looking for? And that way we can narrow down and really get there really quickly, because these areas are so different.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. So let's just take a quick glance at these. We've got this median sales price. This is a slight decrease from December, which is not super surprising to me because we typically just see a drop in activity, a drop in people that are wanting to list or looking to buy, unless they absolutely need to. Because as we approach the new year, I feel like a lot of sellers, people are aware that the spring is the busy time, if you will. And so some people are wanting to wait until that time so that they can get the maximum value possible for their home. And then as far as looking to buy, people oftentimes will wait until there is more inventory available, which they expect to see in the spring. So
Yeah.
I'm not super surprised to see that drop. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm really looking at the number from last year. It's only 1.8% less than it was last year, the median price. And again, I want to say that's great, because that's making our housing more affordable and normal again. And the more inventory we have, the more normalcy we have. So that's great. I don't even think it's that big of a drop. Yeah, people aren't buying homes in January. The only people that bought homes last month, and we had a stellar month last month in January, is all the incentives builders were pouring out to. If they didn't sell all their inventory by December, the incentives just continued on through January. And those incentives will taper off and go away as we get into February, March. But people are calling now and starting now at the end of February, which is kind of normal. Last year, they started into February. People are looking, but you're right, March and April, when everybody's going to start listing their house to sell in June.
Definitely. So basically, if you're wondering, I'm looking at this, I see numbers, I see lines. What does this even mean? It means that this is reflective of where our market should be, what we expect to see this time of year. The closed sales, that also indicates the exact same thing that we were just saying. There's less activity, therefore less closed sales.
But we still had an increase in sales from January of last year of 3% increase in sales. So if you look year over year, we're still jamming here in Northeast Florida. We're still getting a ton of calls from all you guys moving. And if you're watching from here, wherever you're watching from, there's still a lot of people moving here from out of state.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you pointed that out because that is not like reflected in other parts of the country. Like if you just like search market update, you're going to see that, closed sales are decreased, and that's not like not all markets are performing like this. So, that's a really great point. Days on market up quite a bit, up around that 76 mark. So that's just over 3 months. That again is impacted by activity, but also impacted by pricing. How you mentioned, I wish they had on here like something that showed like the average number of price drops until a property sold. Like I would love to see that information, because that I it's just so important to price the home right to start, and we are seeing it so often where it's not, and it will sit. And it's hard to have those conversations with people. I know you've had to have multiple, as of lately, where you've had to say, I understand that someone's telling you they'll list it for X price, but please trust me when I say it's not going to sell for that. This is where we need to be. This is with the market. And you actually had someone reach out lately and say, you were right. Like we listed here, we price reduced, and we're right where you suggested.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again, it's depending on what your objective is. If you're locked in a low interest rate and you're saying, make me move, and you don't care, that's fine. But if you're trying to make a goal and plan of something and you're looking at last year's pricings or what your neighbor sold 3 months ago or 4 months ago, and you're not comparing apples to apples, your house is going to sit on the market. And we're seeing that now. We're starting to see, as you see here, 76 days on the market. And again, it's not horrible, but part of the reason is people are not being realistic on pricing their home correctly. And we got a lot of homes coming on the market this spring. So I'm going to tell you that that's going to be affected even more. And then that's going to make it even more reasons why it's essentially going to make sure it's important that you price your home correctly. So
Yeah.
lost a lot of listings in the last 3-4 months, and I'm okay with that because I've been representing a lot of buyers in the new construction world. But I'm okay with that because I don't want the headache of having to go back to you and tell you I told you so, and now I got to lower your price, and then people ask. The first question my buyers ask is when a house has been on the market 70 days, what's wrong with it?
Right.
Always. And I have to go,
Absolutely.
well, I do have to look at the history and see, well, they priced it really high, it has been reduced, and now I got to really go through it with a fine tooth comb. Oh, it's backed up to another house, or this is wrong with it, because they want to know what's wrong with it. I have
Yeah.
to, and then they go, oh, that's not so bad. All right, okay, now we've overcome their mindset. Why this? Now they're like, well, maybe we can offer a low ball offer on them. They're getting desperate. No, so
Mhm.
that's the frustration of this market is you got sellers that are not being realistic and they're like, hey, you know what? There's not a lot of inventory still in a particular neighborhood. Go ahead, have at it. But I think it has to appraise, and it's essential that unless your house is an anomaly, you really got to make sure you price it correctly.
It has to appraise. I think people forget about that sometimes.
Yep.
And when you're selling, you have to, and it's hard. Like, I'm not saying this as if it's easy. It's hard, but you have to try and pretend it's not your home and put yourself in the mentality of a buyer and look at what is available. Are you competing with new construction down the street that's offering crazy incentives? Are you
Yeah.
competing with other resales that are currently active and you're the highest price, but you're all comparable, or maybe you need some updating? What would, if I'm buying a home, I'm going to take those things into consideration, just like an appraiser will as well. And if it doesn't appraise, then you're in hot water later on down the road, because I mean, we talked about it before, but we're not really seeing appraisal gaps right now at this moment in our market. On some properties, maybe, but it's not a common thing like it was back in 2021. So it's just so important to keep that in mind.
And I'm glad you brought up the new construction thing because, again, it's important people to know in new construction, builders do not want, if they're still in the middle of a community, it's not at the end of the community, they're not going to lower the price of the home. You're going to see massive incentives. And we're seeing it in some of these builders that have inventory. They didn't lower the price, but man, do they have massive back end incentives. It's to the point now where, or if you're not a good real estate professional and you don't understand that the bank, if you're using a lender, you can only be credited so much at closing. So they're offering incentives like buying down rates, refrigerators, washers and dryers, put up a fence, put up a lanai, anything you can get that's not going to lower the actual price that will affect the comps of that neighborhood. So if you are putting a house up for sale in a neighborhood and you're in a neighborhood where there's still a lot of new construction or one of these master plan communities, you're competing against massive incentives. And with the interest rates, at 6.5%, 7%, they're buying rates down with that money. I'm seeing 30, 40, 50, even up to $60,000 in incentives. So, you need to make sure you understand what those new builders are doing around you, and even more reason to make sure you're priced correctly.
Absolutely. Okay, before we get out of St. John's, let's go down just a little bit. I want to look at new listings, active inventory, and then month supply of inventory. All of these are green. They're trending upwards. So we're seeing way more new listings in January than we saw in December. So this is, remember, for the entire county of St. John. So 784 new listings, also a 50% increase from last year. This is a good thing because we have had such a lack of inventory. So this is really good. Active inventory increase year over year and month over month, and then month supply of inventory increase year over year and month over month. So what that tells us is, A, we're getting more inventory, so that's going to hopefully relieve some of this pressure, and then B, we are heading toward that normalized market. So these are all really good things.
Yeah, I mean, again, I welcome it. I tell you what, 6 months is a normal market, and we finally got there because, again, this time last year we were at 2 months, a little bit over 2 months inventory. So it was really, again, thank goodness we're in the Northeast Florida region. We have new construction, and they don't probably include that in that number. That's why these numbers aren't 100% accurate, because there are new construction opportunities. But I'll tell you what, 6 months, it's great. We're getting into normal inventory. Median price per square foot is down to $240. It's just getting more affordable again. And that makes me happy, because there's a lot of people that deserve to have homes that can't afford to live in a home right now because they're priced too high. So now here's the opportunities, and all the new constructions are offering the massive incentives for new home buyers and additional funding to help with closing costs. That they're out there. So, if you're a first-time home buyer, I don't do a lot of business, right? Haven't done a lot of business in the past with lower tier builders, but I mean, some of these low tier builders are offering some incredible incentives that are making it very exciting for someone who's young to buy their first home. We've done I did a couple of DR Hortons, and I'm just like flabbergasted at the incentives and the opportunities for someone to buy their first townhome. It's cheaper than rent.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is such an encouraging thing to hear. And I think that so many people don't consider that whenever they're thinking about buying. Just because, like, I know within my circle of people, I know quite a few people that are looking to buy a home for the first time. And for whatever reason, the mind just goes to resale, and they think of the prices, but they think of interest rates, and they think, oh, well, it doesn't make sense. And my rent is going to be my monthly payment will be increasing. But when you talk about these builder incentives where would be more affordable than renting, that's incredible. So I'm glad you brought that up. And then I wanted to make one little note about selling before we move on to talking about the more like hyper local parts of the market. If you are thinking about selling, and this is something I'm passionate about, if you're thinking about selling and an agent is kind of being doom and gloom to you and telling you that this is bad, 5.9 months of inventory is bad, the market's not in a good place, I personally feel that that is an agent that does not want to work for the sale. Agents got too comfortable, I think, in 2021, 2020, 2022, where you could just put a home on the MLS and it would sell. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to do professional photos, like nothing. You didn't even have to answer your phone half the time. And you're getting multiple offers. It's selling over asking. Now we are getting to that place where the agent skill set matters. Like it matters who you do business with and how that impacts your experience. So I just want to point that out. If someone's nervous about where the market is, they need to be sharpening their skills.
Yeah. Also, another thing is that, there might be, you said at the beginning of the call that a good portion of the agents in the state of Florida, there's the 80-20, that 20% are doing most, the majority of the business, that there could be a sense of desperation out there that someone will list your house at any price you want, knowing full well they're going to come back and ask for price reductions. And they're not really putting your best interests at heart. They're just playing the game because they're hungry. And that's dangerous too. So you really want to look at the first question. You should be interviewing at least one or two different agents, but you really want to be going, hey, how many sales did you have last year? How many transactions did you close personally last year? And if someone's only closed 4 transactions last year, or 5 or 6, you really want someone that's only sold 6 houses in a whole year to list your home, because the market was fluctuating so much. It's constantly changing, that someone has only sold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses in 1 year. They're not really got their pulse on the market. So be careful with that.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've covered St. John's. We've covered how the data is kind of impacting buyers and sellers, what it looks like on a broad scale. So let's jump in. I think let's head into our MLS now. Let me share this tab. So right now we have just over 7,000 or just under 7,500 active listings in our MLS. Let's look at, you want to do Nocatee first?
Sure.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's see here. We're going to go to Nocatee, and we're going to do all 3 of these. So in Nocatee, we have 229 active listings for sale. Some of these are new construction. We were looking at a specific community the other day, and we said, oh, this is nice. They have some of theirs actually listed in the MLS. Stop. So that is something to consider. But what I want to do here is we're going to change this to looking at our closed sales. I am sorry. And we are going to change this to be in the last month. So we're going to look at January 31st, 2024. I'm sorry, December 2023 to January. Because the reason that I'm doing this is because those were the other numbers that we were looking at. They were from December to January, December of last year to January.
Wow, what a big difference, huh?
Yeah. Spinning. Did I type everything in right? Yep, 1231, 131. Okay, so we have 49 homes that sold in Nocatee. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to come over here to these statistics. And I love this. I think this is so cool. So you're going to see here that and I love that, Greg, we had a conversation about this just the other day, that I love that this gives you the average and median, because if you look at those NEFAR statistics, I'm going to go back to that really fast. You're only getting the median sales price. And you and I had a conversation about this, same thing with days on market, in, what is the difference? And this is where I nerd out a little bit because I used to teach high school math. Median is the dead middle of that set of data. So if you have a set of data and you list them all out from lowest to highest, median is the dead middle. When you look at a set of data, normally it's going to normalize into a bell curve, but sometimes you're going to have outliers. Your average will be affected by that. Sometimes the average is a good measurement to use. Sometimes it's not. It depends on if you have those data points that would pull it way up or way down. And we actually do see this. I'm going to point this out here. When we look at days on market, where did it go here? Okay. So when we look at days on market, and I know this isn't the most viewer friendly, so oh, you can't see my screen. I'm sorry. I switched to the
No, we're still in the, yeah, there you go.
So when we look at days on market, this top row here is average. The second row is median. I have to scroll over in order to see it. The average days on market was 59. The median was 19. That's a big difference if you're talking to someone and saying, well, the typical time a home sits on market is 19 versus 53 days. This is when it's important to be working with a real estate professional that is out there, working with people so they can tell you what they're actually seeing. Because we were just working on a video and I said, Greg, I don't know. What are you actually seeing?
You know why there's such a big discrepancy, such a big swing?
No.
Okay, well, some people are greedy or don't care, or their agent doesn't care, and they listed their price of their home too high. So their days on market was longer and they had to do price reductions. But then there was some really good, honest, professional agents that advised their clients properly to list their home appropriately, and some of them sold in 11 days.
Mhm.
So, it's just really dependent on if the house was priced correctly and listed properly. And that's why there's a major swing. And I'll tell you what, the greediness and all that is, as long as interest rates don't go down until later in the year, because if they went down during spring, it would be a feeding frenzy again, and people all jump into the market at once and it would cause bidding wars. But if things stay normal and our interest rates stay in the 6s and 7s, I think people are going to realize as inventory goes up that it's very important to not be greedy and start listing your pricing your home properly, because that's a big discrepancy. The average is 45 days and the median there you're showing it is 19 days. And that's evident here. A good home in the right area that's priced properly, like a home in 20 Mile is priced properly and has all the features people are looking for, but it's priced properly. Oh, they're gonna sell quickly, for sure.
Definitely. We do see this as well. It's not as much of a difference here when we look at the sold price of a home, but the average was around 760,000. The median around 700,000. So that's not too different. What that tells you is that your data is skewed toward that higher end. So you might have more homes that are listed at that higher end than typical. I'm such a visual person. I wish I could just draw it for you. But that's not too far off. This though is really, really interesting to me.
Days on market is because of the listing side. It's simple as that. As far as the average price, I mean, I think it's fantastic. You can build a home in Nocatee. I'm not talking about resales because it's still right now, it's more effective to build a home than it is to buy a resale. And hopefully that changes, because people have to overcome the logistics of, a transition housing if they can't stay in their current home while they're building. But you can build a home in Nocatee at 2,300 square foot. You can build a home for 600, 635. That's really nice. That home probably a couple of years ago would have been 735. So again, we're going back down in the right direction.
Yep. Okay. Love that it shows us the low and high. I think that's really interesting. So we can actually see what the low, I love that it gives us the original list price, the sold price. Like, I love looking at all this data. It's not the most pretty thing to look at, but really, really interesting. We can see that lowest sold price was 405. Our highest sale price for the month of January was 1.5 million. This is, again, just what was listed on the MLS. There are sales that happen outside of the MLS. But
and those 2.2s on the low end, that's a condo, just so you know.
Yeah,
There's
very
true. $400,000 in Nocatee, just so you know.
Yeah, and we can even see it. So like we could right now sort ascending. And let's see.
That is a house, isn't it? Is that in Duval County?
Interesting. Well, something's
that's not Nocatee. So yeah, that's not Nocatee. That's Florentine, which is in the Nocatee area. So when you do the search and you're doing Nocatee, you need to put CDD, yes, because that's not part of the CDD community. So yes, you can live in the Nocatee area, and there's communities that are, so go to down to the bottom, add a field, press CDD. All right, and then yes, and then yes, boom. Now everything's going to change. Now that's actually Nocatee. Let's look at.
But you can see here these.
So what is that one at the top there for 440? What is that? Is that a house or?
Yeah, it looks like it.
No, it's a townhome. The picture makes it look like a house, but it's a townhome.
Okay. Oh, you're right. You're so right. And so are these below it.
Those are all townhomes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
No worries. So let's go back to the stats. I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like now that you've eliminated the, they went up a little bit.
They did, yeah. So the sold price, the average went up to just under 790, and then the median sitting around 710. Again, we're still looking at that discrepancy in the days on market average and median, though. So that just really.
So it went up it went up though to 56 days, I think. But before it was what, 40 something?
No, it was in the 50s.
It wasn't the 50s. Okay.
All right. So let's keep going down here. This is really neat. We could just we could have a conversation over just this whole table, but I really love this. This is really neat where it breaks it down. So the days on market and sold to list price ratios by market time. So you can see that just in the first 30 days, 22 of the listings sold. The sold to list price ratio was 102%, meaning that these homes that were selling within 30 days were priced right and sold for more than what they were originally listed for. But
yes, I know. I wish people would understand that. Please don't list your price. I'm in a listing point. Please don't list your house too high. I always say list your house 5 to 10 grand higher than what you want for it. That's it. Leave yourself 5-10 grand to negotiate. I prefer 5, and make sure you get your target, or maybe a little bit more. Leave a little room for negotiation, but it's better to have multiple buyers at the same time that have FOMO than overpricing it 20, 30, 40 grand going, oh, well, we can always come down. That's not the way. You have to price you got to nail it the right way.
You have to get it right the first time.
You do. The first impression is everything. So I like how you said it's a science and an art, because I do truly believe that.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And I just love this so much, because you literally see that right outside of 30 days. Like you said, if the home is priced right, it's in good condition, it's in the right area, it's going to sell quickly. As soon as you get outside of 30 days, it's no longer selling for what you listed at. It's automatically below what you listed at. So
can I just say the psychology, if I can just share with the general public, being a real estate broker, do you know when you go into a home and it looks beautiful? I went into a home yesterday. It's a gorgeous house, and I was so tormented because the comps didn't support with this home, the value. You really had to look. I mean, I was like, some of the fixtures were like $1,500 each. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is an anomaly. Do you realize how tempting it is as a real estate agent to say to the owner, okay, I'll list it. Let's go for it. Let's list it as high as possible. So much so, luckily I'm very blessed and fortunate, and I'm doing very well that I don't have that temptation anymore. But it's human nature to be like, you know what, me, it's not so much the money, it's the ego going, you know what, I can get you what you want. Because I always ask people, what do you think your home's worth? And God help me if they pull out the Zillow's estimate. But the human nature, if you have an agent, again, if you ask their question before you even interview them, how many transactions you had last year, and it's less than 10, and they come into your home, they're going to be like, you know what? You want to list it at that? Let's do it. I need the business. It's human nature and temptation, but the numbers don't lie. They don't lie. These show you that these homes that sold in the shorter amount of time span, they were properly listed at the right price.
Absolutely. All right, let's see what else this has for us. So we have, this is the same thing, cumulative days on market versus days on market, very similar. We don't have to go too deep into that. So really, this conversation is really just going based off of understanding that how long your home sits on the market is going to affect when it sells and what it sells for. And all of this comes back to that original conversation of value. And don't be afraid to ask someone, if you can't come to terms on value, would you consider doing an appraisal? Would you consider splitting the appraisal with me? I mean, we just did an appraisal for a property today. It happened this morning. And because, we're professionals, we want to price it right. We never want to leave money on the table for someone. We want them
I
to
don't want
get.
to waste my time. I don't
Yeah,
want to waste my time and energy dragging out the process. It's not only time wasting, but it's also mentally exhausting as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get out of here, I just want to, because it's fun. We have potentially live on this coming up, but maybe looking at the most expensive home sales in Jacksonville. So before we move
None
on
of
to
our viewers have commented on where they're watching from tonight. I guess it's not as, last week was crazy. This week, not as much, but if you're out there watching, go ahead and put in comments, where are you watching from? We really want to know where you guys are watching from. So if you
yeah, are you local? Are you thinking about moving?
Yeah, are you local? Where are you at? Are you thinking about moving? Thinking about selling? We want to know, and ask us any questions too, for sure.
Yeah, love that. Thank you for putting that out there.
Everybody's like, I've got so much equity in a house. Let's just sell it and go to Costa Rica.
I actually know someone who they just went on vacation and visited Portugal and fell in love. They had built a brand new home in Palencia that they loved, and they went, came back, and they're like, "We're selling our home. We're buying a home in Portugal." And I was just like, "What? This is crazy! Like, I can't believe this." But
it's tempting. I'm telling you, Portugal. It sounds really good to me. Heard the olive oil and the wine over there is very, very good.
Right?
Be like,
Funny.
I just sell this Nocatee place, cash out, and say, hey, we're going to homeschool and move to Portugal. Although I'd rather surf in Costa Rica, but I bet Portugal has some good surfing too. But anyway, I digress. Sorry. Let's have fun with it.
Okay, so let's see. Most expensive sale. This is obviously a new build because all we're looking at are the floor plan options. But I do want to see where this is so you can fill us in, Greg. Subdivision name Palmetto Cove. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the top build communities in Nocatee. The two top builders, reputable builders, that's Toll Brothers and Dosty's, which is a semi-custom builder, and they blew through their homes really quickly in Palmetto Cove. And I have a customer building in there right now, and it's a beautiful neighborhood. It super is. They're all the large lots, two great builders, and they are not cheap. It's expensive. So I think Coral Cove now, some of the models are coming up for sale in Coral Cove, which is the other 70 and 80-foot neighborhood. And there's a Toll Brothers with a pool just under $2 million. And now we have one that is going to be over $2 million, named after my wife, the Monica plan.
Nice.
So, you go over to Coral Ridge now in Seabrook Collection, 70, 80s, it's 1.3, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, depending how people are crazy, we're getting. So, but yeah, Palmetto Cove is another one of those neighborhoods that it's all high end. There's only going to be, I think, 67 homes total, somewhere in that neighborhood. So very exclusive neighborhood and not cheap.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing the details. Okay, let's look at.
I only know that because my wife kept going over there and go, can we move? And I'm like,
I bet she did. I would say the same thing.
I don't want to be house poor. I already work 60, 70 hours a week. So, hey, Fletcher McWhite, he's watching from Crosswater. Awesome. You're right down the road from me, man. Thanks for joining tonight and putting that in there. So we got locals. Sweet.
Yes.
He's probably like, sell and move to Costa Rica. I'm all about that. I keep talking about it. So Emily, if I don't show up to work tomorrow or next week and the channel goes dead all of a sudden,
I'll
know where I am.
Seriously. Okay, so as we start to look at Ponte Vedra, that's one of the other main areas that we serve. Greg has talked about this, the difference between Ponte Vedra and Ponte Vedra Beach, how Nocatee is in Ponte Vedra, not to be confused with Ponte Vedra Beach, so on and so forth. One of the things, if you can see this on the screen, I want to point out how these areas are broken down. Notice they're all locational: east of A1A, west of A1A, south of Corona, west of A1A, south of Solana. So these are geographical barriers, and they broke these areas in, or they broke the map into these areas for a reason, because they do influence the value, if you will. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to select all of them.
So this is Ponte Vedra Beach, not Ponte Vedra. This is zip code 32082. And Nocatee's in Ponte Vedra, and some non-CDD communities, which you had in there on the last thing we did, and that's 32081. But this is by the beach side. And over here is become very exclusive. Not a lot of land left, and they're literally they're building houses in the most odd places there. I mean, literally, whatever land they can get, and builders are going in there, custom builders are going in and building, and the cost of homes there just skyrocketed. It really has.
Yeah.
And
so go ahead.
and
Sorry.
the key is also, because you're in between the intercoastal and the ocean, you definitely want to make sure you understand what your insurance is going to look like being
The
near
flood
water.
insurance. Absolutely. So before we get like zoomed in, this yellow that you see here, this is A1A. So when they were saying east or west of A1A, it's kind of interesting because I want to say, obviously, the desirable place is to be east of A1A. But because you're between the intercoastal and the ocean, it really comes down to preference, because you could potentially be building or buying on the water wherever you are. It's just a matter of if you prefer the ocean or the intercoastal.
Yeah, I think the key is, and I did a video called, and it's man, it's doing really well. It's the video I did where we did the top neighborhoods by the locals on niche.com, best neighborhoods in Jacksonville, with the thumbnail with the big Jacksonville flag, a horse. My videographer, I didn't know that the horse in that thumbnail was the Jacksonville flag. And I go, why'd you put that?
Always wondered that. That's so
Yeah, I'm
funny.
like, what the hell is that? And he goes, that's the Jacksonville flag. I'm like, oh, duh.
That's
Uh,
so funny.
but that video has gotten a lot of hits, and we went over what the locals voted the best neighborhoods to live in Jacksonville on niche.com. And it was interesting because Sawgrass is one of the top neighborhoods to live in, but so is Palm Valley, which these municipalities or cities within Ponte Vedra Beach are completely different. They have a different vibe. So Sawgrass is very country club golf beachy like, and then Palm Valley also has golf, but it's got a little more country feel. It's near the intercoastal. It's more heavy foliage and trees and everything. So it feels different, even though it's really, really close.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's just a different vibe. So
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what I want to share with you, because we're coming up on our hour. It's funny because I always worry. Greg's always telling me, don't worry, like we're going to have too much to talk about. And I'm always like, do we have enough to talk about? Do I have enough in my outline? So we're coming up on the end of our time here. I went ahead and broke this up. I know you might be thinking these numbers mean nothing to me, but you can see, like I said, they are broken into this 251, 261. Those are mostly east of, or those are both east of A1A. Then you've got 252, 262, 263. Those are going to be west of A1A. I want to look at them all first. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to look at the statistics. We can compare it to Nocatee and St. John's at large like we did already. So Nocatee, our average sold price was like around $770. You can see here that our average sold price in the Ponte Vedra Beach area is just over $2 million. Now, remember, average is influenced by outliers. So that high sale of 22 million, where was it the CEO of T-Mobile that just bought that home cash? The $22 million. I think it was the owner or the CEO, something like that.
Wow.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, so I saw the sale. It was a cash sale of 22 million, but I
Yeah.
didn't see who the buyer was. And then they later released an article and I'm gonna mess it up, but it was either like the owner or the CEO of T-Mobile that purchased it. Beautiful home. I'll pull it up whenever we're done here.
Okay, let's do it. I know next, didn't you say we're going to do one of our next show? And if anybody's watching, or if you do watch this later on, make sure you put in the comment what you want us to do on our next show. But you're doing luxury homes, planning a show for that pretty soon. So I'm excited. So
Yes.
this is a good prelude to the next show being luxury homes. But anyway, I'll let you go because we only have 5 minutes left.
Well, I just wanted to point out that that's why you see this large discrepancy between the average and the median here, because our high sale price was so high. That's why it's pulling up the average. The median is probably more reflective of how most of the homes are priced. They're probably going to be closer to that $1 million mark. Or around that, 850 to 1 million, because we're talking all of Ponte Vedra. Ponte Vedra Beach. Thank you. Yes. Also, days on market, we can see it's a little bit higher than the Nocatee. Typically, the higher priced homes do sit a little bit longer just because they oftentimes have a smaller buyer pool. So our median days on market was 47, and then our average was 72. So, again, we see that discrepancy. It could have to do with pricing, could just have to do with the fact of, not many people can afford a $22 million home. I'm really curious. I want to see what its days on market was. Should be down here.
History now. They moved it in the new MLS.
Okay. What?
Yeah, it must have been done on the side.
Well, here though, it listed as new and it says 62. It's probably around that 60 mark. I don't know why it says that. We got a new, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, in 2008 it was $5 million. Now it's 22. Crazy. Hopefully they did a lot to it. Yeah. How big is it?
Let's go back. We have, where does it say it?
8,900 or 8. I can't see.
Yeah.
8,293.
Yeah.
Nice. Right on the beach. Beautiful.
Yes. Okay.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right. Love it.
Doesn't Ed Milet live down the street?
Close, yeah. I love that we're attracting these big names and attracting people to our area, and it's getting some love. I think it's so great.
Yeah, and they're quality people. Ed Milet, motivational, encouraging speaker, CEOs. We're good quality neighbors we're getting here.
Yes, I love him. Okay, so as you can see, I'm gonna try and keep these numbers in your heads, everyone. But so we're gonna look at this median sale price of $866. That's for all of Ponte Vedra Beach. Now I want to go back and let's compare east and west of A1A. So first, and the reason that I want to do this, you might be thinking, why are you so intent on doing this? It's because we have talked about the importance of having a realtor who understands how literally something as simple as crossing the street impacts the value of your home. So let's see here, 251, 261. Let's get rid of some of these other ones. All right. And then, we had 264 in there too. Let me add that one back. There we go. Okay.
Used to be a math teacher, right?
Yes.
You are geeking out on numbers right now. I'm just going to let you know. You may not know, but you are geeking out on numbers. I love it.
Statistics was my favorite unit. Okay.
most analytical, data analytical client. I'm bringing you with me so that you can lay out those numbers so intrinsically, and that way I will not have to convince anybody of the list price because the numbers don't lie.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The numbers don't lie. Okay, so here you can see the average. If we are looking at east of A1A, some of them were looked like they were right on A1A. Average sold price was 4.2 million. The median was 1.9. Again, average is being impacted by that high sale of 22 million. There were only 12 sales. So I'm actually going to scroll through here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It might be too small on my screen. I'll try and zoom in. So you can actually see the sale prices here. You've got 8.75, 5.5, 3 million, 2 million, 2 million, 1 million, some in the 800s. I don't know.
You know what? And people are going, ooh, that's expensive. I'm from South Florida. If you buy a home on the beach in a decent area like a Ponte Vedra, it's going to be 15, 20, 30 all day long, up to 80. If you go up to Palm Beach area, you're talking 120 million on the water. So this is a bargain.
Absolutely. And then we can see here as well, days on market, the median actually jumped up to 62. The average still sitting at 73. Go ahead.
Which is great for luxury real estate. I mean, it's incredible.
It really is. Because, and you should expect to see those high times on, or high, I say. Those are very typical for luxury, like you were saying. Yeah. So before we're finished, I'm just going to go back and now I'm going to add in the other ones so that we can, oops, I accidentally just deleted it.
The intracoastal section?
Yeah.
Well, you're not doing CDD on this area.
No, I just accidentally
deleted.
Oh no. I like closed off the area altogether. I X'd it. Dang it. I would do that while we're on a live. Do you see it? Am I crazy?
What are you looking for?
So I was using the MLS. Let me type in MLS and not area. There we go. There it is. I deleted it on accident whenever I was trying to use them. Okay. So we want 252. 262 and 263. So these are our areas that are going to be west of A1A. And if we look at those statistics, you can see here how the average, I mean, before our average was 4 million, now we're looking at 977. Before our median was 800 something, now we're looking at 664. So these are still, it's obviously still expensive real estate, if you will, but it's vastly different from just across the road.
Well, yeah, you got beachfront living and one is intracoastal living. Like those high sales are probably on Roscoe Boulevard, 3.5 million. A lot of people are selling their homes on Roscoe Boulevard on the intercoastal side, and that's Marsh Landing right there. But there's some of the people are cashing out of these properties and they're moving inland. I've seen some of these people come to Nocatee and build in River Landing or buy a smaller house in Nocatee, smaller being a 3,000 square foot home for $1 million. They're cashing out at $2-3 million. So why not? I mean, if you can sell your house and make $1 million for $2 million equity and buy your next house outright, have lower maintenance, and you're at that point of your life, and move across the intercoastal, why not?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm not in that situation, but couldn't agree more. So I want to close this out with this question, Greg. And this happens to you. I don't remember where you said you were, but everyone always says the grocery store. So I'm going to use that example. You get people watching your channel. People recognize you in public that you've never met from watching your channel. So say you are at Publix and you're grocery shopping and someone says, oh my gosh, you're Greg from living in Jacksonville. I've been watching you on YouTube. How's the market? What are you saying to them? Because that is essentially what this live was all about. We talked about some of the frustrations, but this live was about a market update. So how would you answer that person?
Yeah, no, I think from the very beginning, we've shown really quickly here. I'm going to say, look, we're seeing inventory go from 2.5 months last year to 6 months this year. That's a normal market. So that is good. That has helped making our prices come down, kind of level off, or in some cases, lower a little bit to where they should be. So this is a healthy real estate market. And I think it's heading in the right direction. I'm not upset that rates didn't go down. I'm upset for my customers that are looking to refinance, but I think we'll be able to do that at the end of the year with the election year. I'm hopeful for that. But I think that the feds are, right on with keeping the rates where they're at for now. Because if they were lower in the spring buying season, we still have a massive migration here to Florida. I have no idea why. I don't live in these other parts of the country, but we're still attracting a lot of people that didn't make the move. They're like, you know what? This winter has been hellacious. I've gotten more pictures from anybody's watching, all of you. I love you, but you keep sending me pictures of snow, and I don't have no idea what it's like to live in snow. I snowboarded last winter, but for 4 days. So I think that we're going in the right direction as far as more inventory. I want to see it more affordable for folks. I think we're getting into a healthy market. I'm really optimistic and excited about this year. Well, still a lot of great new construction opportunities here in the area. So I'm very optimistic and excited. And I didn't think that was a question you were going to ask me, because I thought you were going to ask me. People go, I watch your channel all the time. I moved here before because of you. And I go, and who did you use as your realtor? You never called me.
So funny.
You guys
So
hurt
yes,
you hurt my feelings. Some people go, can I take a selfie? I'm like, why? I gave you all the information, but you didn't use me as your realtor. So I'll end with that. If you're watching this channel and you're thinking about moving, you're thinking about selling, and you have found value from this channel, I don't make a living off of this channel, nor does Emily. We make a living from real estate transactions. So essentially, the value that we provide those is through professionals and being in the trenches, working really hard. We have 100%. I have 100% commitment to you, and I expect that from my customers as well. I've had to tell a lot of customers recently that I just didn't feel the fit was right, the commitment wasn't right. That it has to be but reciprocal in both ways. And so we're here to serve you. This is how this is what we give to those, and we know that as we put good stuff out there, good stuff will come out. So
definitely.
for all of you that are my customers and those that are watching, and all my favorites, thank you so much, sincerely, from my bottom of my heart. You guys make all of this possible when you use our services and everything. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And
You
with
know what we're doing next week?
what was that?
Do you know what we're doing next week? Did we plan it yet or no?
I don't think we've finalized it. I really want to do the most expensive sales. I'm
Okay,
excited.
you wanted to do it this week. I pushed it to do a market report, so you're going to get your way. We're going to do luxury homes next week, people. So anyone who wants to do want to know where the luxury homes are in Jacksonville, we have such a plethora of different luxury homes. And Emily has been wanting to do this, so she's going to prepare something very special, I can tell. So make sure you tune in next week.
All right. See you guys then.
Until then.